Welcome in, everyone, to another live edition of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin, riding solo for this one. Jimmy is traveling at the moment, and DK, it's Friday night. I think we all know what DK's doing. He's out hitting the streets. So just me tonight, so I'll be certainly leaning on the chat more than I do typically when I have my co-host with me, but just me tonight. But before we get started in this, you talk about an exciting week. If you have to circle one game on the schedule, certainly to attend, but even more, even just to watch or just to, I mean, of course, the Chiefs game week 1, it's the only game being played. Yeah, it's a big time one, but that was on the road. So as a Ravens fan, it's this one. It's the blackout game, night game in Baltimore. The best presentation of any game that you're going to go to is going to be Sunday Night Football in Baltimore. So, man, excited playing a 3-0 team, a team led by the current favorite to win MVP. And most teams or most power rankings have the Bills as the number one team. So, wow, what a statement this would be for the Ravens, starting 0-2 to bounce back, end up being 2-2, and just knocking off the top team, the consensus top team right now in Baltimore. In the NFL. What's going on, Jax? What's going on? Mr. Topfer. Sad. You know what, Mr. Topfer? Sad to see that you're not still at the school, but good to see you still in the chat. Appreciate you coming out. What's up, Lil Trev? You know what? He heard the headphones criticism. Let me just say this. It's just because he was traveling. But we're going to work on that because I don't hear it as bad as you guys were hearing it. Apparently, it was pretty rough because every comment brought it up. So he'll be home. He'll be back to the to this mic right here. So appreciate you coming out. What's going on, Cedric? Yeah, I think he might be afraid of the dark. And if that's the case, whew, he's in trouble this weekend. What's going on, Tim? Oh, man. If this turns out like the Niners game last year, that would be awesome. Yeah, no doubt. Travis, what's going on? Yes, let's do it. Let's get it. From Brazil. Hold on. Are you allowed to be on here? Oh, that's right. That's X. That's right. That's in all that issues down there. Can't be on X. So don't get caught up down there, dude. Good luck down there. I hear it's a little bit it's something else right now down there. So good luck. But appreciate you coming out. Appreciate you showing some love, Bill, and sitting here with me. But before I get into the preview, I got to give a shout out to our sponsor, BetOnline, which is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on while the games are being played. If you think you know your stuff, get in on the $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200K. Woo! When the games are over, head on over to the online casino, get in a hand of blackjack, some poker, or unwind with over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The game starts here. And look, the first place we always start. And look, Gerard, I hope you're right. I hope this is the get right game that a lot of people are predicting it to be. Look, we gotta. The place we always start, right, is going to be the injury report. So let's pull this up because if you're paying attention, paying close attention as a Ravens fan, you were a little nervous about this injury report this week because we've been on here talking about, man, look at this. It's not, it's only a handful of names. It's not, and some of these names are reserves. Well, this week was a whole lot scarier, especially when you're talking the early portions of the week. So starting with the good guys here at the top of the screen, your Baltimore Ravens. As you can see, the week didn't start off very well on Wednesday. Linderbaum out, McCary out, Michael Pierce out, Andrew Voorhees out, Jalen Armour-Davis out, and then Roquan, which seems to be kind of normal now, was a limited participant Wednesday. So Wednesday comes and you're going, where are 3 starting linemen from last week's game? That's not going to be good. However, got some good news Thursday and Friday. For the most part, they all returned to practice and returned in full capacity. Now, the one exception to that is Andrew Voorhees. Did not participate at all in practice all week. So, and in fact, I believe he was spotted last with a walking boot on that ankle that he's injured. So, there's no chance that Andrew Voorhees plays in this game. And Whew, I mean, there was always questions. What happens at left guard if he were to go down? Because in training camp, all we saw was Andrew Voorhees and Saleh at left guard. It damn sure better not be Saleh going in there. So it opens up the question, what happens at left guard? Does Ben Cleveland make an appearance, even though he's locked right now in John Harbaugh's doghouse for reasons unbeknownst to us or any real Ravens fans? Nobody really knows what's going on there. So is it him? Do we finally see and get what we want and see Ben Cleveland? Or is it the more likely, at least in my opinion, the more likely, do we see Patrick McCary, who's been playing solely tackle for a very long time? Is he going to kick into left guard? And we're finally going to at least get what we want at right tackle and see a full game of Roger Rosengard. That's really the question. What happens at left guard? But thank goodness Linderbaum is back out there, and thank goodness Daniel Faalele, because we did see some growth from him. He has gotten better. So let's hope that he continues to build on that. And then we're going to get back to that offensive line as we get more into this preview here. As you can see from the Bills, they're going to be without, one of their best players, Terrell Bernard. They're also going to be without Taron Johnson, their nickel, their starting nickel. So they are down. This graphic isn't going to show you, but they are down to their third linebacker, and they're missing their starting nickel. So their entire middle of their defense in the second level is all going to be missing from this game. And, we're going to get back into some more of that stuff later. But those are the only two that are really – and then Tylen Grable, full disclosure, not sure who that guy is. But I don't think he's going to be a terrible loss for them. I'll put it to you like that. But as you can see, they are the healthier team in certain senses, but really it's just left guard for us. And yeah, I mean, man, it's just a shame for Voorhees, because you could see the steps, you could see the growth that was taking place. And it's kind of a bummer that he wasn't able to continue to build on that. And then before we get into some more of the preview, I did want to quickly just throw the BetOnline odds up on the screen here, because look, we all know how good these daggone odds makers are. They tend to know their stuff. They ended up calling the Ravens a slight favorite last game against the Cowboys, and we all know how that turned out. They won by a very slight margin. This week, Ravens again the favorite, this time at home, -2.5 points. As you can see, the Bills are getting 2.5 on the road, which, I mean, this is almost like a pick'em game, the way they're taking it here, because the home team typically gets afforded 3 points because of the fact that they're at home and they have the advantage of having the crowd behind them. So a 2.5 point favorite, actually, the way I look at it is they feel like the Bills are just a little bit better, is the way I look at that, because it should be at least 3 if the two teams are equal, because you're at home. So the odds makers at least think that while they think that the Ravens are going to win this game, they think if it was played on a neutral field, how I'm interpreting this, they think the Bills would win by a small margin. So, okay. All right. We'll see if they're on their stuff or if they're off about this one, like they've been. I mean, they're off too. I mean, let's be honest. It's not like they're hitting 100% here. But let's get into some more of these Bills, because I am so excited about this matchup. Who's been watching the first couple games might say, well, they look like the best team, and maybe so, but they haven't played the Ravens yet. Okay. They have not played the Ravens yet. So let's first start with, we're going to go with the Ravens offense. And really, I'm going to spend time talking about the Bills defense, because you guys, if you're Ravens fans, if you're watching this channel, chances are you know what is happening on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm going to talk about what we can do to attack their defense, but I'm going to spend some time really talking first and foremost about what they do well, and, on the personnel side, who we really have to be concerned about, who we should be worried about, and who's been impactful for them thus far. Because as we know, as Ravens fans, it doesn't matter, who's the sexy name or who maybe is even the highest paid. It's about who's playing the best that, we should be talking about, and that should be having Ravens fans concerned. So as you can see here, I just have their defense pulled up here and their stats thus far in the season. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I know it can be challenging to see when I share the screen here. But obviously there's some names that we got to talk about first and foremost. Their edge is very, very real. There's some serious talent on the edge of their defense. Gregory Rousseau has 3 sacks already on the season for 11 yards of total sack yards lost. They also has 4 tackles for loss. And then Von Miller, the ageless wonder, coming back from the injury, working his way back into shape, has 3 sacks on the season. Now, I will say this about Von. He's taken a bit of a step back when it comes to his run defense, become more of a situational pass rusher, but that could be something that they're just going to build on throughout the year, and he'll make his presence felt more so in the run game in the playoffs or big high-leverage situations, or they can continue to kind of go down this route and just take advantage of keeping him fresh and knowing that when he comes in on those passing downs, he's going to be, his tank's going to be on full. So, but also let's look at, because they are insanely talented. I mean, their front is unbelievable. So we talk about Rousseau and Von Miller pitching in with 3 sacks apiece. Well, AJ Epinesa, more of a hardworking, prototypical size. I mean, he's got a sack for a 10-yard loss. Ed Oliver, maybe he's certainly in the conversation of one of the better young D tackles in the league. Ed Oliver he's a stud, and paired up next to him, Daquan Jones. I mean, them two together kind of combined for one of the scarier defensive tackle groups. And the Ravens are going to have to deal with it. Made all the more scarier by the absence of Voorhees and the potential shaking up of this offensive line after, the one thing that they needed to do was really build cohesion and kind of get things together. And that can be very difficult when you're trying to when you're cycling guys in. I'm sorry, I'm being distracted. My dog is going crazy. There's people talking out front. I'm trying to focus, but it's very difficult with all this ruckus traveling around my house. But I'm going to ignore it out. I'm going to block it out and hope that people hear me as I complain loudly. But also on their defensive side of the ball, let's look at pass deflections and interceptions. So DeMar Hamlin, I mean, great story for that guy. He basically, had he had cardiac arrest right on the field. And look at him now. He's out here. He was the leading tackler last week. He's got an interception, got a pass breakup. So it's always pretty cool to see that kind of redemption story after, some said he almost lost his life, but some said he would definitely never play again. And look what he's doing. Jamarcus Ingram also added 2 picks to the group here. And then their leading tackler currently on defense is Dorian Williams, followed closely by Cam Lewis. And Cam Lewis is an interesting one because I don't think he likes the fact that he's one of the leading tacklers, because I think the reason Cam Lewis is one of the leading tacklers because he gets picked on a little bit. He tends to get picked on, tends to get searched out and found more often than not. Lisa Ann, shout out to you, Lisa Ann. 14 sacks, that would be awesome. What's going? Yeah, riding solo today, guys. Riding solo. So I'm going to do my best, especially with these super chats, to make sure, because I have a lot of windows open. But let me put Craig's up there right now since I've seen it. And I don't want to forget it. And I certainly appreciate the generosity and your participation here. Craig says, I hate primetime games, especially on the East Coast. I got a baby and a job. Give me a 1 or 4 p.m. game every time. Plus, I can drink in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I certainly understand that. I mean, if you got to work, look, I got to be at work at 8 a.m. the next day on Monday. And not only am I going to be watching this game, I'm going to do a live post-game show after, which, can get you kind of jacked up. So by the time I'm actually hitting the hay, yeah, I feel you, Craig. I'm going to be hurting. I am going to be going through it. But if you don't have those concerns, if you don't have to get up early, man, what an exciting, I don't mind sitting around and waiting. If it's good games on TV, if it's a clunker, it's a bit of a bummer. But me personally, if I could pick one game to sit at home and watch, give me 1 o'clock games every day. Give them all the time. I don't have to sit around, I have to be anxious. But if I'm attending, I like the later games, certainly. But yeah. Well, and the baby too. Man, it's not easy. It's not easy. What's going on in the flock rundown? Appreciate you, John J. Yes, dude. And let me tell you, I went on a bike ride yesterday. I don't even know how many miles. Boy was hurting. And last week I was hurting even worse. Thought I was going to faint. All right, but I'm trying to prepare in case it happens where I got to actually do this thing. But man, I wonder if Jimmy's doing the same prep. I don't think so. I don't think he's doing anything when it comes to prep. Oh, 8:30. Sorry, Lisa Ann. Sorry, Lisa Ann. That's gonna be early and not for any of the good reasons. So yeah, those are some of the players that we're gonna be watching out for. And then just some other general, just to talk about what they do on defense. And they don't blitz a lot. They're actually 32nd. They're dead last in the league in blitz rate. This Buffalo Bills team is. And I mean, I guess it's no real shock, right? Because let's see, they blitz 13% of the time. And that's no real surprise when you look at who they have. They don't need to blitz. They got a monster front four. And what they do, which I think is really smart, is that they cycle guys in and keep fresh legs constantly. Last week, I think they had 8 or 9 defensive linemen active for the game, which allows them to cycle guys in and maybe not play their pass rushing studs like Von Miller on those early downs where they get gassed out from having to take on a pulling guard or having to shed a block and try and make a tackle on a running back. They bring in guys to handle that job, and then they'll cycle in some pass rushers who have fresh legs to go after your offensive line on third down. So that's interesting. Like they're putting up their third and takeovers in the league. They're getting to the quarterback, and yet they don't blitz. They blitz at the lowest rate. So that's certainly a concerning stat if you're a Ravens fan. The other thing is they haven't been in their base coverage all year. They've been in nickel, which is common around the league. Nickel and dime, where they're bringing smaller guys. They'll take some of the big boys off and bring some speed in, whether it be a DB. Typically, it's going to be a DB, and then even take a linebacker off the field and replace him with a smaller, faster defensive back. And teams have yet to make them pay for this. And it just reminds me of back when the Ravens were playing the Chargers, and everybody said, man, they're smaller. They go smaller and faster on the defensive side of the ball. You should be able to lean on them, beat them up. However, they use their speed to get around our big slobber knockers back in a few years ago when we saw that game. But our offensive line was built a little bit different back then. It was more about getting big, strong, knock you off the ball type guys. Philosophy's changed a bit around here, even though our right guard is the biggest human being I've ever seen. The philosophy has changed. Just you can tell by the drafting of our right tackle and the athleticism he displayed at the combine and already in his early part of the season. They do have different offensive linemen who, in theory, should be able to take more advantage of smaller guys because they do have some athleticism to them. Again, outside of potentially what Faalele's doing, although he did get to the second level last week, ladies and gentlemen. He just didn't do a ton when he got there, but he did get to that second level, which is something that was growth for him. I appreciate the kind words there, John. Yeah, I just got to keep doing it. I just got to keep out there running and hope that it kind of gets easier and I can build, kind of build along the way. But let's see here. What else about there? So when it comes to their weaknesses on their defense, it's definitely going to be their linebackers because of the injuries that they've sustained at the position. Matt Milano's on IR. We know how good of a player he is. He's an all-pro. Guy's an absolute stud in coverage. He's all over the middle of the field, and he gives our offenses a ton of problems. They're down him. They're down their second linebacker. They're down their primary nickel corner. And I think they're beat up even behind those two linebackers at their third linebacker, if I remember from the injury report. So that's the spot we can take advantage of. And I think the way you take advantage of them is, first and foremost, you block that defensive line. Like, we have got to figure out how we're going to handle the two D tackles that I mentioned earlier in Ed Oliver and let's see here. Ed Oliver and, man, I'm blanking on his name that quick. Where is he? Daquan Jones. You got to block those two guys. Got to. If you're going to run the ball, Linderbaum, you got to be on your A game because you're going to have a new starter at left guard. And you know what you got at right guard and Faalele, a guy who's got a lot of growth to be done if he's going to become, at least a average player at right guard. I don't think he's there yet, but if we can get him there, then I think we can make some noise. But This is going to be a big game for Linderbaum. They're going to have to handle Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones before even getting into what they're going to do on the edges. But I think if you're going to run the ball, it starts with those two D tackles. I don't see a problem getting up to the next level when it comes to those linebackers. I see a problem getting up to the next level with your offensive line because they're going to be busy blocking these big D tackles and these edge guys. But I'm not scared if you do get to the next level, even if you can't get to the next level, of those linebackers, because I really think Justice Hill and Derrick Henry can do a number on those guys. But the big question is, can they block their front? Because holy smokes, they are something else. But if they can block those guys and establish the run game, which is what is going to be crucial for this game, then they can open up the play action. We've been talking about on here, the play action pass needs to become a bigger part of this offense. They need to be able to take deep shots using that play action pass, but also if you can establish the run, it will bring the safeties down. It will bring the linebackers down. They will have to cheat up, and you will open up the middle of the field behind those linebackers for spots like tight ends, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. You just got to. We need to see more play action in this game than we have in any game yet this season. But it starts with the run, because you can't run play action if you can't sustain and establish a running game. So that's the biggest point to me when I look at these guys. Like, I'm actually encouraged that Rodgers going to be starting at right tackle from a pass protection standpoint. I feel much better about him dancing with Von Miller or Gregory Rousseau than I do with him than McCary dancing with those guys. The only question is, without having hardly any reps in the offseason or any reps in the offseason at left guard, what type of quality of player are we going to get? This guy's been primarily participating at right tackle, and now we're going play left guard. He's done it in the past, but it's been a while. So yeah, I feel okay about right guard. Most worried about our left guard situation. And yeah, there's just this super talented defensive front. But we're going to see. It's a good Bills defense, but it's a smaller Bills defense. And I think the Ravens could take advantage of it. In the passing game, we talked about play action, but the big area, I think this could be the coming out party for the tight ends, right? Jimmy put that as his X factor on offense is Mark Andrews. He says, as the Ravens attempt to sustain drives in the fourth to avoid losing leads, depending on Mark in big moments needs to be part of the recipe. Certainly, but it needs to be part of the first three-quarter recipe too, because as long as you're running the ball, you can. What I love is come out in bigger, heavier personnel and run the ball and play action throw off of it, and then you don't even have to. Because they're not the guys they're going to guard, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, are going to be small guys. Take advantage of the size discrepancy here. High point the ball. Let's basketball these guys, right? Let's get rebounds on these guys. Let's throw the ball high and let these big bodies just take advantage of the smaller matchup. That's what they're going to have this Sunday. Man, I hope they can do it, man. Because I feel good about it because Lamar Jackson's playing at a high level. I think we got some confidence in the run game after that Cowboys game, although anybody can run on the Cowboys. I'm hopeful that we stick to the game plan. That's the big thing. Stick to the game plan, run the ball, play action pass, come out heavy, take advantage of their smaller. Now, they're quicker in a lot of ways, but take advantage of the fact that they're smaller. And let's see what Derrick Henry can do against these as long as he gets past the D-line, good luck the rest of those guys tackling Derrick Henry. He's going to be licking his chops if he gets past this front four going, you're going to tackle me with these linebackers and these DBs? You are outside of your mind. Lisa Ann says, do you see Pat Ricard getting the football Sunday night? I don't want to see Pat Ricard getting the football Sunday night. I want to see Pat Ricard ripping helmets off of people as he clears the hole for King Henry or Lamar Jackson or Justice Hill. I'm not a fan of Pat Ricard getting the ball. I like what he does when he smashes people and pancakes them and puts them in the dirt. That's what I like. I don't need to see him getting the ball. Every now and then, the occasional, if he's wide open on one of these play action, when we come out heavy and he can kind of sneak through the traffic, okay, that's fine. But I'm not the biggest fan of him getting the ball. So let's just, lean on. Make those linebackers do something against our offense, and I'll take our chances. Just block up that D-line. Block them up. Got to. I'm a little nervous about their pass rush here, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be honest. I'm a little nervous. They're good. And they'll keep them fresh. That's maybe the scariest part of it, is the fact that they always keep these guys fresh. So my offensive key matchup is going to be the tight ends versus the combination of linebackers and safeties that they'll use to try and guard those guys with, because, man, they're good. But let's move on to the other side of the ball and talk about the Bills' offensive threats and what they're going to try and do as far as the offensive side of the ball. We talked about their defense, and then we'll kind of get into, because, man, they got the odds-on favorite right now for MVP. Now, it's early, but as you can see on the screen here, Josh Allen, 75% completion percentage, 634 yards, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. He has been sacked twice. He has a 133 overall quarterback rating. And this here is where it gets even, more, I think. The one thing that's been missing has been a run game for Josh Allen outside of himself being the run game. And they found one in James Cook. James Cook on the year, 41 carries, 188 yards, 4.6 yards per carry. He's got 3 touchdowns on the year. And then receiving, I think it's safe to say we can call Khalil Shakir their number 1 receiver. I'm okay with saying that. Like, he is maybe not what it looks like prototypically when you look at the guy as far as, his height, weight, and all that. He's the real deal. He's a deep ball threat. He runs great routes, super crisp. And then as far as pass catchers outside of that, Dalton Kincaid has turned into one of the just top tight ends in all of football. He's an absolute stud. Yeah, he's going to be a problem. And we should have known that, because they had Dawson Knox on their team, who was already a pretty good tight end. And when they saw Dalton Kincaid in the draft, they said, we got to have him. We got to have that guy. I don't care how good he is. And then outside of those two, Curtis Samuel is a challenging player to match up against, even though he hasn't turned it into a ton of success yet on the field. 7 catches, 40 yards. Keon Coleman, another favorite in the draft that everybody was, begging the Ravens to draft. I saw so many Ravens fans hyping up Keon Coleman. He finally gets on the board with his first touchdown last week. Finally makes really an impact on the game. 7 catches, 75 yards thus far on the season. James Cook, a big receiving threat. We talked about him as a running back, big-time receiving threat. 9 catches, 97 yards. The guy can flat out catch the ball in the backfield. And then shout out to Ty Johnson. Maryland, Turt. That's right. Got a tutty on the season. Got to love it. And then Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Even though he's got his issues, he's got, drop, he's still a big, tall, fast, deep ball threat who has made big catches against the Ravens in the past. So this is a very formidable offense. An offense that everyone was saying would take a step back after losing some big-time pass catchers in Gabe Davis and trading away Stephon Diggs, but haven't missed a beat. Replaced them and haven't missed a beat. So got to give those guys credit, but they also haven't played the Ravens yet. And, I certainly like our chances when it comes to that. So let's see about their offense, which is interesting because offensively, the run game started high on a high note, but it's starting to look old like Buffalo once again. And what I mean by that, did I look at the wrong? Was I looking at the wrong thing? Oh, was I looking at targets, not catches? Nah, Keon's. Oh yeah, he's got 5 catches. My bad. 5 catches, 7 targets. Thank you for the correction. 320 swoop. Appreciate it. Yeah. Let's see here. But as far as their run game, it's trending in the wrong direction. If I was a Bills fan, then the way I want this to go. So week 1, they ran the ball 64% of the time. Week 2, 44% of the time. And week 3, 22% of the time. So each week, their percentage of runs run plays versus pass has dropped by 20% or more. 64 to 44 to 22. So ultimately, they're getting back to what they want to do. They want to pass the ball. Even though they've had incredible success when they do decide to run the ball, specifically with a running back and not just with their quarterback, they have immense success. But they're going back to what they did before, which is pass with Josh Allen and only really run when it comes to scrambles or QB designed runs. G. Isaac says the Lone Ranger, Baconator Cash. Thank you very much. I will certainly use that generosity to help pay off the bet after Odafe Owe, who, by the way, he gets another one this week as his march towards double-digit sacks continues. I appreciate the generosity. Certainly appreciate the viewership and participation. Thank you, sir. Baconator Cat. It's gonna, you know what? I wonder if Jimmy's gonna like it. If he's forced to eat a meat, first of all, any animal product he hasn't had in 4 years, but it's been longer than that since he's had beef. I think it's like 6 or 8 years. I don't know what this is gonna do to him, but I got to imagine. First of all, he might enjoy it if he takes that bite. Like, oh, I've been missing you. What if we send him all the way back to just full on meat eating carnivore? Like we could, or he could go, why did you do this to me? And never speak to me again. We'll have to wait and see. But also, I wanted to talk a little bit more about their run game because what I think is interesting is that they've become, we talked about the predictability of the Ravens when they had early in the season when it was Justice on the field, they passed the ball. King Henry on the field, they ran the ball. Well, they had similar predictability when it came to when Josh Allen was under center. They would do they would run the ball to typically their strong side, so the side where the tight end is lined up, and he would either cut back, bounce it, something to that degree, but they would run the ball to the running back, to the strong side of their offense, usually, and he would either cut it back or try and bounce it to the outside. And then when they're in shotgun, they would typically do more of the delayed draws, counters, and stuff like that. So they were becoming very predictable when it comes to what formation and what style of run. But they've seemingly gotten away from it entirely. So it's kind of a moot point in a way because they've gotten away from it. But they could decide to try and get back to their running ways. We just certainly have to wait and see what their strategy will be. But man, I am very interested to see if they will continue to move away from the run game and move back to a pass-happy, Josh Allen is your red zone threat at running back. In fact, he's kind of already been that way. The thing that worries me a lot when they get in the red zone is, man, it's going to take a lot to stop a red zone offense that's willing to run the ball and then has the ability to play action, bootleg, and run with their quarterback and the athleticism that he brings, which they've shown already this year, and run him around the edge. So you have to be super disciplined in the front. You got to be anticipating what's coming before it happens, and there's no chance you can stop it. I think that the Bills now will run the ball strictly to set up the play action pass, both deep and behind your linebackers, although they don't have the middle of the field success I was expecting to see, but they certainly need to. I think that they only run the ball in an effort to set up their passing game. That's it. And that's how every team should, but it's almost like a begrudging, like they run it and they've had success and they still don't like it. And that they only do it begrudgingly just to make sure that they can pass the ball out of it. So some key matchups. I think this is going to, we talked about some of the players that you have to watch. I mean, certainly the combination of Kincaid and Dawson Knox, but more specifically Dalton Kincaid. He's going to be a matchup problem for a couple guys out there. However, I do like our chances if Kyle Hamilton's on him. I think Kyle Hamilton, look, everybody talked about how Kelsey, did this and did that to him in the AFC Championship. Those were just great plays. Hamilton was right there, and we saw his most physical game this past week. I think he's at his healthiest this part of the season. So let's see what Hamilton can do versus Kincaid. I'm interested to see about what we do with Khalil Shakir in the slot. Do they deploy Marlon, who I think would be a pretty good matchup from a physicality standpoint against him, and he can run with him. The only concern I have is, again, does he find the ball if it's thrown up and over his head? Can he locate, make a play on the ball, or, at the very least, disrupt the pass catcher to enough a degree to where he drops it? That's the question. Or do they use Ardarius Washington, who we've talked about has certainly earned more snaps? His ball skills are undeniable. His ability to get his hands in there as soon as the ball is making contact with the catch point is just it's not teachable. You cannot teach what he does. But the question is, has he earned enough of confidence from the coaching staff to be put in those situations against that kind of a player in a big time game? That remains to be seen. But I'm rooting for Ardarius to get more chances to make more of an impact on this game. I also think I talked about Hamilton earlier matching up against Kincaid. I also think he has an opportunity to certainly help eliminate that middle of the field behind the linebackers if the play action is working for them. They're going to run deep crossers across the field. You gotta stop that. Marcus Williams, where have you been? A lot of people say he's not playing poorly. He's just not making any plays. Okay, make a play. This is the week. I need to see Marcus Williams step up and make a play. I want to see Roquan Smith go back to playing like one of the top linebackers in football. Right now, he's graded as a middle of the pack guy. Bro, you're going to have an opportunity to be a spy on Josh Allen. You're going to be the leader of that defense who's going to be dissecting and anticipating the plays before they happen. Get guys in position. Make sure they see it the way you're seeing it, because I know Rowe breaks down the film. I know the efforts he puts in. Let's see if it turns out to actually making an impact, on the field and in the game. I love our chance. There was that clip of Madden when it came out of Josh Allen running over PQ. He might be able to run over PQ. He wouldn't have when PQ was in purple, but he might now that he's in black and yellow. But I tell you, you ain't running over Rowe. You ain't running over Rowe. And then finally, last but not least, Trenton Simpson, man. I want to see Trenton Simpson all over the field. I'm done with the Malik Harrison experience. Done with it. Done. I need to see more of Trenton Simpson. Got to have it. Got to have more of Trenton Simpson, specifically in coverage. Over Rowe. Like, he's proven this guy he is sticky. You cannot teach the athleticism he's bringing to this team. And I'd love to see him covering James Cook out of the backfield. We talked about the receiving impact he's made in this on this team. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see him get a shot at Kincaid. I mean, look, you got to see. I don't want to see Malik Harrison for one snap in coverage. Not one. Can't have it. And then as far as our pass rushers, look, I talked about Owe. He needs to build on with that 2.5 sack game. He needs to show he can do it against more than just look. Optimistic Avocado. He's blocked me. He blocked us a long time ago. Old PQ. But I need to see Owe build on more and show that he can do it more than just against Gardner Minshew, who's a very sackable quarterback. I need to see him impact against the top level guys. He'll have an opportunity to. KVN, just keep doing what you're doing because you've just been awesome. You've been special. Travis Jones, keep doing what you're doing. Justin Matabike, keep working your ass off. I think the sacks are going to come with him. He's had some unfair breaks along the way so far this season. And it'll be interesting to see if we see Unique Ngakoue for the first time. And who, if he is active, who does he replace? A lot of people predict Tavius Robinson as a potential. I'm not so sure, though, because Tavius provides more as a run defender than a guy like David Ajabo, who maybe loses some snaps and maybe loses his game day, active spot to Unique Ngakoue. That's going to be interesting to kind of keep an eye on and see how that gets all divvied out there when it comes to snaps and availability. Let me see here. So the big thing as far as the defensive key to the game, let me see what Jimbo has here. He talks about the edge versus Allen. He wants to make sure our edge group is getting to Josh Allen, bothering Josh Allen. The one thing about him is he will hold the ball at times to try and create more big plays down the field and give his receivers a chance to open or to free themselves. But that just gives pass rushers more of an opportunity. Like, what scares me more is those guys that are, 3-step, boom, 2-step, boom, like guys that get it out quick. that can exhaust your pass rush, make them feel defeated and start, giving up or kind of not trying as hard because they're like, I know this guy's going to throw it in a second and a half. The hell am I rushing so hard for? Instead, they're worried about getting hands up in passing lanes. They're worried about jumping and trying to deflect passes rather than getting upfield. With Josh Allen, get upfield, man. Let's go get this guy. Bring his ass down. What I don't want to see is whiffs on these wide open pass or sack opportunities. Adafe, if you have a chance at him, don't run at him with zero balance, zero ability to change direction. I mean, run at him like he's a damn running back. Like, expect a change of direction. Expect some movement. Like, I just don't want to see a free run at him, and then he just steps back and you run right by him. Like, get this guy on the ground. He's going to give you guys opportunities to get the guy. I got a feeling KVN's not going to disappoint, but I do worry that some of these other guys. Yeah, he's the least sack quarterback, but he hasn't played the Ravens yet. No bones. He hasn't played the Ravens just yet. And let's see what happens. Yeah, well, you know what? As far as Moscow has a little nerves about Trenton Simpson and expected, it may be worrisome about never seeing Josh Allen before, and maybe he's too. Man, Trenton Simpson is a tackling machine. Specifically, you talked about gets low enough. He tackles the feet. He gets you down. Like, I have no concerns. To me, like, look, it feels wrong to say because Pat Queen had a big year for us. Trenton Simpson's a better player and has a far higher ceiling, way higher ceiling. Like, I mean, somebody talking about attacking Rowe. Yeah, Rowe's been attacked a bit in coverage, which is surprising because he's a 3-down linebacker. But Trenton Simpson's looked a little bit better than him in coverage. You got to say, I mean, he's just so quick. He's so fast. He's so sticky, agile. His change of direction is unbelievable. You got to give him more snaps. I know he's young, but who cares? It's not like he's a rookie, right? He was here last year. He didn't get a lot of playing time, but he was here. He's not a rookie anymore. Let's use him. So, yeah, I mean, this is a big, big game. I absolutely can't wait to see. I do want to get into really quickly here our competition here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see if I can do this by myself. Here we go. All right. That was an accident. That second one, that was a mistake. That's what happens when I have to run this all to myself. Yeah, Jax, you're right. He's been this close on a couple of them. And if he can just get his depth, that's been the issue. He's not getting deep enough. Guys are getting behind him, which is why I asked for Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams to help get behind those guys, because that play action has me a bit concerned about the linebackers cheating up, because they've been good at running and then selling the play action, albeit more often in the first couple games than the last. But they've shown the propensity to do so when they feel like it's advantageous. And don't be shocked if they go back to a more run-heavy scheme like we saw early on in the season here from the Bills. But let's get up here with our Week 4 competition. As everybody knows, our competition is in the show, but also opened up to the fans. And you can certainly participate by entering your answers after the live is over in the comment section below, or DMing us on any of the social media handles that they used to be on our screen. We got to get them back on our screen, but you can certainly direct message us on Twitter, on Facebook, or on Instagram, and then we'll pick a winner based on those results. So we're going to get right into our first over-under, which is Mark Andrews' receptions. Been a lot of talk about Mark Andrews not being a major part of this offense. Just 8 targets thus far on the season, despite the fact that he says he's playing better than he ever has, running faster than he ever has, and feels great. He sets it. DK sets the over-under at 1.5 receptions. Are you kidding me? This is an over. And Jimmy agrees with me, of course. He probably, you know what? He might have had his answers in before me, but he still somehow, I'm sure, cheated. DK says under. Well, he's wrong. And Brad, once again, has yet to answer. So I say over on that 1.5. And I think that's an easy one. Number 2 over-unders, we have Ravens rushing total yards ratio. Hold on. See, where's DK when I need him? Because I don't know what the hell. Okay. Oh, I get what he's saying. So your total yards is rushing 50% of that, more or less. That's interesting. I'm going to say we're under. I'm going to say we're under that because I do think the play action game will be a big part of this game. And I think we're going to get some opportunities to push the ball down the field through the air after we do establish the ground game. But I'm going to say under for that one. Let me see here. Jimmy agrees. DK says over. All right. Josh Allen rushing yards. Look, I ain't scared of Josh Allen running the ball. Okay. I ain't scared of it. I'd rather these guys run it all day than pass it because let me tell you, they pick up a lot more yards when they do pass it. So if he wants to run, go ahead, run, and we're going to hit you. So I'm going to say under because I don't think he's going to like getting hit, and we're going to be putting a couple on him. Let's see here. Oh, the game. Is it going to be rainy? Am I going to regret that? Well, you know what? Here's the thing. The rain, everybody goes, oh, well, it helps the run game. It can also help the passing game. And here's how. The receiver knows where he's going. He knows when he's cutting. He knows where he's cutting. Defenders don't know. It's a lot harder to react in the rain than it is to act in the rain. And so I think they're going to be having opportunities to get wide open. Look, our guys get open when it's perfect cover or perfect weather. All the more reason they're going to get more wide open when the defense is slipping around out there. All right. So I'm going to say under on this over under. Let's move on to number 4. Josh Allen passing touchdowns. He sets it at 1.5. And I already see DK and Jimbo, they both think over. They think 2 passing touchdowns is going to be, I say under. I think 1 passing touchdown. Now, part of it is because I think they might run one in. Certainly, Josh Allen might run one in. But I'm going to say under, primarily just because I'm disagreeing with my my competitors, and I want to win. And so you can't win if you agree with them. And I don't like tying. First tiebreaker, he sets the over-under at 46.5 points. 46.5 points. I say, you know what? I'm going to say over, but by 0.5 point. 27-20 is my score prediction. The Ravens win the game at home in a game-winning touchdown drive. And then there will be some time left. And Josh Allen is going to get intercepted to seal the game, to close these boys out. Something the Ravens haven't done so well lately, which is close teams out. I think they're going to close teams out. Because of the weather forecast, I am going to go a little light when it comes to my yardage prediction because I do think there'll be some turnovers this game, which could set up some short fields and lead to just not enough yards to get because the field is so short. So let's move on. I'm going to say, over for that. And then for yards close to pin, like I said, short field could lead to lower yards. 385 is my prediction. Jimmy says 415, DK 430. So both of them think longer or more yards for us than I'm predicting. But again, rainy field, slippery ball, turnovers, weird stuff's going to happen. Short fields are on there. And also, it's not easy to punt in this weather. I think there's going to be some issues with the kicking game. I swear to goodness, Justin Tucker, if you blow another kick and allow another kicker to come into your stadium and boot kicks from further and make them, oh man, we're going to have a kicking dilemma here. We're going to have a kicking problem. I need Justin Tucker to reinstill confidence in this fan base. I need him to come out, make everything, split the damn uprights, and look, no doubt abouters. No doubt abouters. That's what I need to see. I don't want any of this crap where you're hooking it to the left like we've seen all year. No, No, don't want to see it. Don't want to see it. I need to see him putting them through the uprights. But, man, if you could only go to one game outside of the weather, this is the game you'd want to go to. It's going to be an absolute blast. I don't care how late it is. I don't care if it goes to overtime. You better believe we will be here live for our post-game show. celebrating if we win, and it'll be therapy if we lose. But again, I predict a 27-20 win. Come on to town, buddy. Leave the refs in the locker room. Yeah, I hope the refs don't make them presence felt. Can we just not talk about the refs this weekend? Can you not have any bullshit roughing the passer calls where it's a textbook tackle? Can we not have any stupid? I mean, last night, the damn refs called a face mask on the guy who was getting face masked. If you didn't watch the game, go back and pull it up. A guy for the Giants literally was getting face masked. They called the penalty on him. Didn't reverse it, just moved on. And then they show the replay. His hands weren't anywhere near the guy's face. He was almost getting his helmet ripped off. So please, refs, don't make yourselves a part of this storyline. No part of this game. Let them play. Please. But that's it for us, ladies and gentlemen, tonight. I appreciate everyone who came out. Let me give a couple shout-outs. Shantae Holland. Yeah, that call was unbelievable. It was horrible. John Jay, yes, you're right. It was horrible. Jax, enjoy it, man. Enjoy it. And come prepared, Jax. If it's going to rain, don't be stubborn. Come over prepared. Make sure you rain-proof your outfit. And that means pants and that means top and bottom. Because some people will go there with a raincoat going, I'm fine with my legs. What do you mean? Yeah, until you stand up to cheer, which you're gonna. And now your seat is soaked, and now you sit down, and now your ass is wet. And it feels like you're sitting in a dirty diaper. All right? So I'm telling you, they're not that expensive. You could go out right now, hit a one of those 24-hour Walmarts, do it tomorrow, any of them, and get some waterproof pants. Trust me, you can get the cheap ones that just fold up, and you'll buy a package. It'll be like this big, and it'll have pants in it. It'll be like this big because they'll just fold it. And you can put them right over top of your pants. And I'm telling you, you'll thank me later. Waterproof clothes. It makes a difference. I'm telling you. And then remember, the concrete will suck the warmth right out of your feet too. So don't sleep on that too. Everybody calls me Captain Comfort. I'm over prepared. But guess what? When everybody else is shivering, soaking wet, they're chafed, I'm chilling. Absolutely chilling. And it don't cost much. So hope you take my advice. Lisa, appreciate you. And it's Quintillion. I remember that from last time. Quintillion. Yeah, this one is making a lot of people nervous. Appreciate you joining us out here. Appreciate you making it. Grayson. It says Lamar is an elite quarterback. Yeah, he certainly is. Let's see. Mello, 320. Thanks for correcting me earlier as I was pointing out targets rather than actual receptions. Appreciate that. Optimistic Avocado. How bad PQ is on a 3-0 team. Yeah, that's true. It's hard to bash on PQ when he's on a 3-0 team. But you talk about, remember a couple years ago they were 10-0, and then they just stunk up the joint the rest of the season? That's how I feel about them now. The worst 3-0 team you've ever seen. Their defense is great, but they have no quarterback still. I don't care what Justin Fields is doing. He stinks. He stinks. And I was a Justin Fields guy, but until he shows me that he can, deliver throws that are beyond 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. Now, he had a 55-yarder last week, but if anybody watched the game, it was a 5-yard pass. The guy took 50 yards. So I haven't seen it from him yet, and I'm hoping now that he's a Steeler that I'll never see it from him, even though I was a bit of a fan of his when he was in Chicago. Once you wear that black and yellow, you're dead to me. And the same goes with PQ. But thank you guys so much for joining me, keeping me company as I was doing this all alone. We will be back, like I said, post-game of the Ravens game. Be there or be square.